You are in the zone. Disclaimer, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are purely those of the individual voicing them and do not represent the values of the sponsors or the platforms on which this podcast is hosted. We're your hosts, Cranky
and the Swag Man.
And today we're diving into the world of traffic control work and how to deal with long hours on your feet. We'll be discussing how to handle long hours, deal with boredom on the job. That's a big one.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is.
Minimize body stress and maintain a healthy work-life relationship, work-life balance. Let's go! All right. Dealing with long hours and boredom in traffic control work often involves long shifts, sometimes up to 12 hours or more. Swagman knows all about that.
Oh, the long hours are killer. The 12-hour shifts, it's usually you get through your first hour. You're like, oh yeah, this is easy. By the time you hit the 6 to 7 hour mark, you're starting to get a bit hungry, a bit munchy. By the time 10 hours comes around, you're looking at the clock going, is it over yet? How long's left? Oh, 2 hours left. You're on the countdowns, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So by the time you hit that 12-hour mark, you're like, okay, 12 hours, let's go. It's 6 o'clock. Let's get back to that go line.
Nah, and it's, I wish I could say it's the same for my job. My job, you'd never know when the day is going to end.
Oh,
you can pretty much gauge it, but I spend a lot of time going from job site to job site. So I'll do like a 4-hour job here, a 6-hour job on the next one, and then usually that's the end of the day. But quite often my boss will call me and just go, listen, there's been an emergency call out in a suburb that's on your way home. Do you mind popping in there? So I'm like, okay.
And it's that repetitive action as well. People seem to forget you constantly get your signs in, get your signs out, and you might only be at that job site for a couple of hours. And it could be a big job where it takes you a good 20 minutes, half hour to get that whole thing set up. And then they might only be there for an hour, but then you've got 20 minutes, half hour backing down to get to the next job.
Yeah, exactly. People get to roadwork sites, especially if you're not sort of in the know, and I think they think that these things just set themselves up magically as boom, done. It's not. There's a good hour, half an hour either side of people running around trying to pack up things like witches' hats, which again, a lot of people don't realize weigh a fucking ton if you have like 8 of them.
And it's also dealing with if you go from a quiet area to a busy area, and then you're trying to deal, especially if it's between peak hour times, you're trying to deal with blocking off a scene and putting in a taper or something to then draw it into one lane. Essentially, you try not to do it through peak hour. Most of the times that these jobs are on are off peak. But every now and again, you get that situation where an accident's happened and your traffic's backed up, and it may as well be for the next 2 hours. So,
well, yeah, we do our absolute best to
mitigate,
stick to what we would call the ROL times, which is road occupancy license times. They are designed to be outside of peak hour, but occasionally, you can't really help that.
Yeah,
and shit happens. There's an accident, say. In my job's case, there's an emergency call out. An important service has decided that it's going to explode on the side of the road, and we need to shut down a lane at 5 o'clock in the evening, and it just gets absolutely screwed. People don't like that. We cop abuse and all that sort of thing, but we'll get to that later.
that's the fun part of the segment.
The point of this part of the episode is what comes after the setup, because you got this half hour of them running around like a headless chook, and then literally countless hours, because you don't know how long it's going to take to get something repaired or get the job done, of idle. Nothing.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to sit down. You're not allowed to be on your phone. You're just standing there. And these extended periods can lead to boredom and mental fatigue. Um, but we have some strategies to combat this.
Yeah.
There are ways of dealing with it, which we've all, those of us who've been in the game for a long time, you'll see us doing some of these subtle little things, and you're like walking past, you'd probably look at someone and go, "That's a bit of an odd behavior," but that's something that we do to combat the boredom because it's, like I always say, boredom leads to fatigue, fatigue leads to accidents.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And you see all these little tiny niches they might be squatting, or they like counting cars, or trying to just keep them more inactive. And people sit there going, "This guy okay? Is he all there?" Or and all it is literally just keeping your mind active while you're standing on a stop slow bat, or standing in one position for a very long period of time, trying to
Mm.
keep your mind active away from it. You're looking at the scenery and trying to count the leaves on the tree, but keeping vigilance on your job at the same time, eh?
Or it's like you'll be driving through a job site and you look at the TC standing there and you're like, "Why is this guy standing on one leg?"
Yeah, yeah. All the time, and people that are not in traffic control go, "This guy." But the ones that have done it understand what's
Yep,
happening.
yep. Everyone knows that. Everyone
Uh,
knows the stalk pose.
yeah, next time you've got your team leader coming up to you going, "That car down there wanted me to come check on you because you're standing on one leg," or you okay? I was just like, "Yeah, he's fine." He's combating the boredom of standing on the bat for the last 8 hours. But hey, keep moving because now you're holding up 4 other cards.
Hey, sometimes we've gotta use that bat as a third leg and just be like, "Yeah, you know what? My feet are killing me, and one of these is going up. I don't give a shit about appearances. This is happening. I'm sore."
Yeah, that's it. You see the old TC going backwards and forwards on the stop slow bat. You're just like,
Mhm.
yes, he's with it. He's there. Count the amount of times he can go, or how far he can lean forward before he loses his balance.
Or there's my old favorite trick, and you see a lot of TCs doing this one, is trying to balance the bat on one hand.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
old juggling trick.
The juggling, yeah.
So what can we do to understand this challenge, Swagman?
Well, it's just constant vigilance. You're not only responsible for your own mental health and fatigue as well,
Mm, mm.
but the safety aspect for not just you, the drivers, but also the pedestrians that are in that area,
And your
uh,
own workers as well.
and your own workers. So it's the repetitive nature of that job that can
Mm,
make it so easy to lose focus. So staying engaged is like crucial to the main aspect of traffic control. You're there for long periods of time. You're there from
mm,
early hours
mm,
of the morning. You only get what, a 15, 20-minute lunch break most of the time. So it's good to stimulate your mind for the mental health.
mm,
So to avoid boredom and all that. And firstly, the mental stimulation is key to this. So practicing mindful skill sets, or little things like, as I was saying, counting cars is the
mm,
obvious one,
mm.
or looking at your scenery, counting the amount of pebbles that are on someone's garden ways, or how far can
Yeah.
you see a certain object, just to keep your mind active.
You know
There's
what's
also memory games that a
mm.
lot of people like to play, and they sit there and play on that as well.
You know what's a strange one that I like to do throughout the day is counting how many kookaburras I can find.
Yeah, or how many times they
It's
start to talk to each other, try and identify which bird it is that's talking.
it's a strange thing, because our company does a lot of excavation, so they obviously work up a lot of worms. And it's like throughout the day, I'll generally see like 3 or 4 kookaburras or different predatory birds, and I'm like, hell yeah, that's cool. That's made my day for like the next hour. All right,
Yeah,
that's
that's it.
energy backup.
Does your company allow you to, like, listen to audiobooks or any podcasts with an AirPod in one ear? Or are they pretty strict on, like, no music, no AirPods? any of that kind of thing. It's for us over here, it's sort of
Mm,
hit and miss. So most companies over here in WA won't allow you to have it. If they see you with it, they'll pretty well fire you on the spot sometimes, or they'll bring you into the office and have a chat about it.
mm, mm.
Sort of depends on how severe and how big your job is, but it for us over here, it's sort of hit and miss, I guess you could say. Are they pretty strict over there with that kind of thing, or?
My company doesn't really allow things like AirPods because they block your ears. You can't
Yeah,
hear if
yeah,
someone's shouting to you, but there are companies here that do allow them. My company will allow a little site radio or something like that if you play it at a very low volume.
yeah. So
But say,
you can
mm,
have some form of background music to a
yeah,
certain degree.
like my two-way, for example, it has the capability to play FM radio, and it can cut the FM radio out when someone starts talking, so they're
Yeah.
fine with that.
Yeah, okay.
But as long as you can hear the instructions being given to you, then yeah, it's all right.
That's alright. And then what would you recommend for a two-way radio as well? Like, what's the best one do you think that people should be
Hmm.
going out and having a look at? I think, I've got the, what do you call it? Starts with G. Is it Gem or something like that? Or Garmin?
Garmin, I think
Yeah.
Garmin makes two-way radios. One of the more popular ones to use is Uniden.
Uniden. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
another one. Yeah, I've got that one, and I've got, I think another one is Gem.
Yeah,
Yeah, Gem's the other one I've got.
I've the one that I favor though is not strictly speaking legal in Australia. It's a Chinese build,
Oh, yeah.
and it's a
It's
9
a
watt,
Navy
so
SEALs one, mate, it can pick up everything.
it
I've
can.
seen your car, it probably couldn't pick up everything.
My radio literally can. It's technically a ham radio, so I can punch in whatever frequency I want and just listen in.
Most
But
of them blocked, I think. Should be. It used to
yeah,
be back in the day where you could literally pick up any two-way radio, and
mm,
you could
mm,
literally scan for the police, and you could hear everything happening on their channel. And they would jump in on there. If you tried to talk on their channel, they would turn around and say, "Get off this channel. This is an emergency channel." But you could
yep,
hear
yep.
everything that was going on. A few years
It's
later, obviously, they blocked out that frequency. They worked out technology became more advanced, and they blocked out the frequency. So unless you've got an actual scanner that can scan
mm,
police, fire, ambulances,
yeah.
you can't do it. But I'm pretty sure there's also a law against having that frequency as well, unless you're directly involved with emergency services.
Ye Yeah, it depends really, like, what town you're in. Some of the smaller towns still use the analog frequencies for the
Analog
police.
frequencies, yeah.
Um, mm,
So it's one of
like
those things where it's hit and miss, I guess,
mm,
over there in your state. I'm pretty sure here in WA, unless you're directly involved with emergency service or
mm.
SES or something like that, you can't have that at all, as far as I'm aware, unless the laws have changed on you,
I
which is
know
always happening. You can never keep up with every law that's out there, but
that's it, you can't,
that's
but
it.
I know here in New South Wales, it's completely legal to listen to those frequencies, but it's illegal to key up on them.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they've done to minimize that is make most police forces in New South Wales go digital. So now
Yeah,
all the
right.
radios are
Okay.
digital, um, which makes it even easier to listen in. Mind you, you don't need any special equipment. You can actually just download an app.
And just listen to everything that's
Yeah,
going on.
there are
There's
scanner
actually an
apps now.
American one. I did see an American app where you could download and you could literally listen to the police, fire, ambulance, and listen to everything that was going on. Whether it's pre-recorded or not, who knows?
Oh, there'd be a
Like,
couple of minutes delay, I'm sure, but
yeah,
it's
sure of it. But yeah,
um,
no, back to traffic control.
yep, yep.
So have you ever heard of anyone doing the whole, "Oh, yeah, try and keep the perfect posture"? I did that, I came across this and I was just like, the person that wrote this either is
Mm,
like one of those physiotherapists, chiropractor, like, yeah, because we both done traffic control. We still do traffic control. And it's to always keep perfect posture in traffic control. How easy is that? I find it not as easy because you're on your feet for that long period of time, and you're already starting to get sore, and you're trying to shift your weights and move all your weight onto one foot just to try and keep alert and all that sort
Try
of
and
stuff.
try and
So,
equalize the foot pain. Like, people don't understand exactly how much fatigue comes from your feet being sore. There's
exactly
most of
right.
it. Most of it does.
Yeah,
But
100%. And
that
it's that constant repetitive. You're on that same site for a long period of
mm,
time, and as I was saying before, if you're on that one site all day without having to move, the only thing you can do is rotate around positions. But there is sites you get where you can't do that because
mm,
you're at a gate, and your job is to let traffic in and out all day, just that one
mm,
spot for the next 10 hours. That is your job. Sit at this main gate and help the trucks get in and out of that job site. That is it. Stop the traffic when they need to come in, stop the traffic when they need to come out. And
those sort
that's
of
your
jobs
job.
can
So
be
it's,
as boring as rivets, but
yeah.
at
The
the
other
same
argument is,
time,
well, why don't you get
it's
a deck chair and sit down? What?
I love that one. I
I
told you the
love
story about old mate who pulled out the lawn chair the other day, didn't I?
it. Yes, you did. Oh, that was a classic. I've literally had people come past and offer me a chair, and it's just like, they have to sit down. It's actually in most policies you can't have a deck chair unless it is your break.
Mm,
You're standing. Like, that is it. So unless you've been given prior permission by either the client or the actual team leader on that job site,
yeah,
you are
yeah.
standing. You can't just, I'm just going to pull out a milk crate. I'm just going to pull out a deck chair. I'm going to reverse your car up and sit in the boot, hold me stop, slow back. And it's not as easy as people think.
I've seen guys try and get away with that before.
Yeah, that definitely is.
One of them, weirdly enough, was a mate of mine several years ago now. Mind you, at this point, I hadn't seen him in a long time either, but I'm just driving through the back streets of Liverpool here in Sydney. Now, I don't know if you know, but Liverpool is half farming community. It's sort of
It's
on
not bad.
the outskirts of Sydney. It's a bit like where I live too, but
The
yeah,
back
it's the back
street.
streets. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it was an unsealed road. It's night time. I can't remember why I was driving there, but I pull up to a construction site and I see old mate the traffic controller jump out of his car boot. He had a wagon, jump out of his car boot and walk over with the stop sign as I was approaching. So I was like, okay, at least this guy's, he's paying attention, so I'll forgive him for sitting down.
Yeah, at least he's on the ball with it. And
And
it's important, isn't it? It's like to have that little bit of, if you're a team leader, to have that little bit of understanding,
I've as I'm sort of sitting in my car looking at this guy, I realize, hang on a minute, I know that face. But this guy's grown a beard. So I roll down the window, right, and of course he comes over with this sort of stance. It's like, oh shit, this guy's got a problem,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I lean out the window and I'm like, oi mate, is your name Mick? And he's like, oh fuck, bro, it's been years. How have you been?
Oh, no way. So he's recognized this straight up. I think.
Yep.
Oh, love it. Well, that brings us to the next part, like the importance of engagement with your team workers. So even though that wasn't one of your direct sites, or was that you were just passing
No,
through and noticed?
no, I was just
So,
passing
but
through. Didn't
staying
even
in
know they were there.
touch with your colleagues, while
Mm,
you're on site,
mm.
not sitting there chatting all the way through, because you will eventually get pissed off at each other with the constant radio chat, and you'll hear the words, clear the radio, clear the airways, only talk if needed. They're probably the team leaders when you hear that. They're probably the team leaders that didn't have a good night's sleep, or they're really stressed out.
I can think of a couple of names. They come straight to mind. People I
Yes,
work with.
yeah, straight up. Uh, it is important to, if you are doing a long shift, to just every now and again, radio check, check in team one, check in team two, just to sort of keep your mind active and stay alert as well. So,
Yeah, it's I know it's something that I actively do on site every hour or two. I just call up a TC if I, you know, say I've got someone who's working around the corner and I'm not constantly looking at them. I'll go, hey Andrew, how you doing around there, mate? You okay?
yeah,
Because you never know. Someone could have come around the corner and attacked this guy. He could have, could have been bitten by a snake or something. You never know.
yeah, that's it.
It's always, and it's good to just check in and see how they're going mentally as well. Like you want to make sure this guy hasn't fallen asleep on the bat, for example.
Yeah, no, that's it. And speaking of that, when you come into the footwear, people are like, oh, because your feet get sore, why don't you just wear
Mm-hmm.
sneakers?
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously the laws that we have are getting a lot stricter. You can't
Yeah.
just come to work in sneakers. They
Mm.
have made it where you can wear steel cap sneakers and all that sort of thing to work. They've actually designed a work sneaker with
Ah,
steel
the
caps
old
in it.
steel cap volley.
Yeah, the old steel cap volley. However, it comes down to whether your company allows that type of footwear.
Um,
So it's
str-
not
s-
as easy.
Straight up here in New South Wales, absolutely not.
There you go. There it is.
Nowhere in the state are you allowed to wear
It's
those
straight
feet.
up steel cap blues from Blue
Steel
Steel
cap,
or,
steel blues. That's the one.
yeah, Steel Blues or one of the other, mine site approved, I guess you would
Mm-hmm.
say,
Mm-hmm.
steel cap footing for local work as well. So
Yeah.
it's not
No.
as easy, I guess, to just put on a pair of sneakers to,
Hmm.
remain that extra, alertness and all that sort of thing.
They
It's not as simple.
The best thing you can do is get a good pair of boots and get a good pair of inner soles
Yeah, that's it. The
because
inner soles. Yeah.
this is
Chuck
something
those
that
inside.
yep, absolutely. This is something that I tell my newbies all the time, especially when they turn up with the Kmart branded boots or the Bunnings branded boots or something like that. And I'm like, mate, my opening piece of advice to you is sure, cheap out on the shirt, cheap out on the pants, never cheap out on the boots.
No, spend the extra money. If you're gonna spend any money, if you're
Mm,
gonna spend any money anywhere in traffic control, spend it in the boots area. And just remember as well that if you're on a benefit like
mm,
Centrelink,
mm.
or anything like that, it sort of varies from state to state, but we've got Centrelink, I guess, here in WA. We've got Centrelink over in the eastern states as well. It's kind of probably Australia-wide, I guess. But for our international listeners that we've
Yeah.
also picked up on, it's whoever is actually offering you that money. You will also have a job coach that you can approach.
Mm,
Over here is at work. There's CSP that can help you actually gain PPE for that job. Now, most of the time, your employer will give you all the PPE you need, but you can actually approach your
mm.
job coach and just ask them, "Hey, I need a pair of boots. I need A, B, and C. This is the pair that I want because my employer's not going to give me a pair of boots, or the only pair they're giving me are quite cheap. I want to get the expensive kind so I can
Yeah.
feel comfortable." And then they'll go, "Oh, yeah, no worries." But they'll also help you get the accreditation for traffic control as well. That's another thing that,
Mm, mm.
um, your job coaches are there to help you. If you're on Centrelink, you can approach them and say, "Hey, I want to do a traffic control course." And they'll go, "Yep, all right." And once you pass that, you go, "Right, let's go get the PPE." You'll get a list from the employer of what you need. Go
Mm.
back to your job coach, say, "I need A, B, C, and D." Your job coach will go, "Right, you've got X amount, go to this store and pick out what you want." And then you can sort of adjust it from that point. You want to spend most of your money on a good set of boots, though.
Get the good boots for
Get
goodness
the
sake,
good
please.
boots. Good boots and a good radio are your
Yep.
main keys.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, you've got, come June, you've got wet weather season. So you
Mm-hmm.
want to get yourself a really good wet weather kit that is
Yes,
for
nothing will.
versatile for not just wet
Mm.
season, but also dry season. It kind of turns itself inside out, from raincoat to short sleeve type things. So it can also keep you warm. They're usually semi-expensive. My one cost me about I think it's $239, but it's an all-purpose wear and it's heavy and it can be light as well. So I can use it as a raincoat, or I can put the jacket insert on and I'll stay warm the whole shift. I've actually got a full-blown wet weather gear set where I put on the pants, put on the full suit jacket, and I'll remain warm the entire shift. And it could be buffeting down. I'll just take that off when I get in the car and bang, I'm still dry. So
exactly.
it's really good. You spend the money on good footwear, good wet weather gear, and you won't go wrong. Take yourself a packed lunch. That's the biggest thing that most people forget, because most areas you go into, you don't have a cafe nearby, or you don't have a food truck that's nearby. So unless your team leader or your employer says, "Oh yeah, you're going to be near a canteen or whatever," or speak to your team leader. See what the main sort of focus is for the day, and then that'll prepare you. So always be prepared. Know what you're going into. Read your plans the night before. And if your employer or your team leader hasn't given it to you the night before, then just ask him first thing in the morning. Hey, do you think I need to stop at the shop quickly and go grab myself some lunch or something? You know, where are we going for the day?
Or say if you're in Sydney, Google Maps is your friend. Please, the night before, just Google the address that you've been sent and check out the local area. Just go, okay, cool. Yeah, there's a service station or something within 5 minutes drive of where I'm going to be working, or what have you. Then there are also a lot of cases where that doesn't work. So please, there's all the more reason to just look up the damn address and you pack yourself a good lunch.
Yeah. You got apps that the employer will usually say, hey, download this app. We'll send you the job the night before you accept the job. It'll tell you the location, usually how long the job's going to go for, sometimes depending if they even know. And it'll also come with your team leader or your crew leader's contact info. And you can always give them a ring or a text saying, hey, I'm on your shift tomorrow. Probably give them a text, because by the time you've probably got that towards the end of the day and they might not even be on that day, shoot them a text going, hey, I'm at this shift tomorrow. I need to know X, Y, Z information. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be quite happy to give you that info. So, and if you feel uncomfortable with any job that you're on, speak to your crew leader, your team leader, and they'll talk you through it. You don't have to feel alone. It could be your first shift. Hey, this is my first shift. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a bit rattled. I'm a bit, anxiety stepping in. You're a bit nervous. Speak to your team leader. Speak to your crew. They're there to help you through it. We all started at the bottom. We weren't all, we're pros. We've been in this. We know what we do. We all started where you guys are starting at the bottom, and we built our way up.
Exactly. We didn't, we didn't magically start with our certificates and everything. We all started on the stop at. We all started sitting on road closures doing nothing.
Watching concrete dry.
Literally. Watching someone's grass grow while there's an asphalt job going on or something like that.
People joke about it. They go, oh, you don't really get those jobs, do you? I was like, no, you really do get those jobs, because you get that one moronic moron that wants to write their name in that concrete, and you will get those jobs where you are quite literally watching concrete dry. So when you sit there messaging your partner and you're like, what, they go, what are you doing? Watching concrete dry. And they think you're pulling the piss, and just snap a photo. No, I'm really watching concrete dry. It's the old term. I'd rather watch paint dry than be doing this job. Well, it is. I'd rather you are watching concrete dry.
And, well, speaking of watching concrete dry, what do we do when boredom actually sets in? Well,
exactly right.
It will inevitably set in. Yeah. And like we've discussed previously, there are some activities that we can do, a little bit of meditation, not the kind that involves closing your eyes, but just deep breathing stuff. That generally kicks in for me at about the 7-hour mark, when I'm like, oh God, when are these guys going to finish? For anyone who doesn't watch the video of this, I'm checking my watch.
And sitting
Um,
going, time to
or
it is,
here's
it really does. And people go, oh, but, what else if you fall asleep? Because you, you get into that. And that's why we say, don't close your eyes.
Mhm.
Because, for
You could do
instance,
you can
if
do
you're
that in a
doing
really
that,
creepy way as well. You could just be like, "Don't close your eyes."
this is it. Don't close your eyes.
Don't fall asleep.
Really watching you. And these are the kinds of things you do when boredom sets it.
Yeah,
Is you
exactly.
start playing the mind games.
Except you're using the two-way radio instead of a microphone in a studio.
Exactly right. And your team leader and the rest of the colleagues, 9 times out of 10, going to piss themselves laughing because they're on the same wavelengths as what you're going through. So
Either
provided it
that
hasn't
or
been a stressful night and everyone is doing the same job, yeah, and when you start to laugh, it gives you the it just relaxes the
Mhm.
body. It releases all those lovely well, what's the word I'm looking for? Endorphins. It releases all the endorphins
The
that you want
endorphins,
out there,
yeah.
yeah. And you start to get all hyped up. And then you get your second wave of energy out of nowhere from that. Because usually one joke starts off with one, and somebody else has got another, and it's a roll. Before you know it, 2 hours just gone by because you've all
Yeah,
pissed yourself laughing.
that's
So
it. Suddenly it's 2 o'clock in the morning and the guys are saying, "Hey, crack her open, we're done."
no, that's it. And that's where engaging with your workmates comes in.
Mm,
Get to know them, understand their background. Don't be the quiet little mouse in the corner.
mm,
We do get a lot of backpackers in this job. Well, talk to us. We're Aussies. We're not all bad.
yeah.
You get the
No, that's it.
occasional smart ass that's, takes it too far, but it's one in a well, I'd like to say it's 1 in a million, but it's usually about 1 in 20. So, engaging is so important, not just with your colleagues. It's
Yeah.
forever other things you can do with the engaging with your surrounding environment, so observing and noticing changes in the environment, traffic patterns, and just coming up with little bits and pieces to keep your mind active from being bored.
Yeah, that's it. Or say you mentioned traffic patterns just then, you can come up with like little slang terms for certain traffic patterns like I do. We actually have a guy who works for our company who back when I first met him would was absolutely against swearing on the radio. Well, we made him do it. Eventually, eventually we got him to we sort of whittled him down to this point on a project we were on where he was just like, "Would you like shut the fuck up?"
Okay, Barry gets the $50 that was in this time frame.
Yeah.
Start making bets on, okay, how long's it going to make us before he cracks? How long can we
It's like
take this?
enough singing. We actually got the term traffic control karaoke banned on our job site.
I love it. I love it. Oh, that's too good.
But it is all about engaging with your teammates. Um,
Yeah, there's a
and
time for joking around. There's that time to,
mm,
just relax and let it loose, especially on those long nights. It's the only way to beat boredom, you
it
know.
it really is, yeah. And like you come up with nicknames for drivers. If you're on one of those projects where you see the same drivers day in and day out, you come up with nicknames for them, or at least you start to memorize their plates, or you're like, if one of them's been particularly nasty to a certain TC on site, you'll just be like, "Oi, Marty, your girlfriend's coming through." You're something like that.
You
Stir them
just
up.
set it
But
on, yeah. Oh, your ex, we've just seen your ex, mate. She's coming through. She said she's going to stop and talk to you.
or if you got
Oh,
one of
love it.
those number plates that just plain and simple didn't match the car. If you got some guy who was unlucky enough to get a what do you call it? Not a personalized plate, but a generic plate that ended with
Generic.
something like 351. You'd remember that plate, and like the next time you come through, and you'd be like, "Yeah, the one that's quite obviously not a V8 Ford is coming through. That's your last
Yeah,
car."
that's your last car. I seen a car the other day, which quite clearly was not a Tesla. You know, you see so many Teslas these days driving around,
Hmm,
and I guess
hmm.
this guy just obviously wanted to take a piece. He's driving this big Pajero, and in the back window it had a sticker and it says, "I identify as a Tesla, therefore I deserve cheaper fuel." And I laughed to myself. I thought, if that ever worked at a petrol station.
You're more than welcome to try and stick a charger in your petrol hole. It's
Oh,
just not
yeah,
going to
by
do
all
much.
means. It's just not gonna do much.
It's
Well, my kids have got this game now, which is,
mm,
which I started to use in traffic controllers, count the amount of Teslas that come through.
yeah,
So every
yeah.
time the driver comes past in Tesla, you've got to identify the Tesla, and you can play it with your crew as well.
Mm,
It keeps
mm,
that mind active,
yeah.
that beating the board. How many Teslas can you identify? Not only do you have to identify it's a Tesla, but you got to identify the car color, and the plate as well. And I
Mm,
play the game, and we've started off with just identifying that it is a Tesla. So
yeah,
every
yeah.
time we're out driving or we're walking somewhere, we're like, Tesla, Tesla. So it's always me and my daughter versus my wife and my son.
Yeah.
And they will consistently, even if we're not playing the game or we've forgotten to play the game, the kids will always remind us, Tesla, Tesla. Oh, yeah, there's Tesla game.
Which,
And
by the way, the game is something that everybody listening to this podcast just lost.
yes, yeah, you've just lost the
So it's
game.
sucked into all of you.
Yes. You thought about the game, you've lost the game. So I guess that's point one for the swag man and the cranky. Oh, I love it. I remember that game when it first came. I was like, "How do
Oh
you play the
boy.
game? If you thought about the game, you've lost the game." I was like, how do you?" And it made me so angry to understand it, and it took so long to actually understand the rules of playing the game that you can't think about the game, you can't play the game, because if you think about or want to play the game, you've lost the game.
You've lost the game. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are is it three simple rules? Everyone's playing the game whether they like it or not. If you get reminded of the game, you've lost the game. And if you lose the game, you have to announce it publicly, which I obviously lost the game, and I have the greatest platform on earth to announce it publicly.
This is inundated the best platform, and we should do it with every guest that comes on and say, "Hey, so are you playing the game?"
Oh, damn it.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
So in the traffic control world, that is the best game you could probably play, because there is a lot of Teslas, but it varies from area to area. So if you ever want to play a
mm,
game with your crew, that's fun to play. And it also is a good segue to helping you remain vigilant, which
mm.
not only does it combat the boredom, but remains vigilant because you're constantly then on the lookout for
Which
everything that's
is
going on.
super important with electric cars getting about, because those motherfuckers are quiet. You got to be vigilant.
Yes. Yeah, you've got to be vigilant on that. It is knowing your surroundings, knowing what's going on with the machinery, but those electric ones, they'll creep up on you. You don't even hear them coming.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
it's we go into talking about from vehicles into our body again. So talking about the
Mm.
mental strain on our body, um, and minimizing the body stresses that we actually have, because we're sitting again for long periods of time. So the physical stress, the mental stress, the muscle
Mm.
fatigue, the joint pain, and the long-term health issues, and what we can do to combat that body stress. So what are some of the prolonged issues that you've got from standing too long, from strained
Well,
muscles and joints,
I will
all the
tell you
fun
this
stuff?
straight up. I'm 6'4", so
Yeah, 6 foot myself, aye.
yeah, yeah. There are, you get the bad knees. You get the. I have a stuffed shoulder right now,
Yeah.
and that's something that's come from just years of being on my feet. Do yourself a favor and just ignore your pedometer. If you have a smartwatch or something like that,
Mm,
ignore the pedometer, because the number of steps you're going to take in a day will just have you scratching your head. You're going to be like, this is ridiculous,
yeah.
I've got back pain, or occasionally I have back pain. It's come to a point where I actually have to sleep with a cushion between my knees
Yeah.
to keep my hips from hurting when I wake up. Um,
And I'm gonna make this point because
mhm,
people
mm,
are like, "Well, why don't you just take some Panadol with you, or why don't you take some muscle relaxant?" Some people might have access to tramadol and all that. Now, unless your team leader and your employer knows about it, you
mhm,
cannot take it on site. If you're gonna take Panadol, just
absolutely.
let your team leader know, "Hey, I need to take some Nurofen or some Panadol. My
Mm,
muscles are
mm,
getting sore." So yeah, you've got to let them know. Don't just take it off the whim without telling them, because if you all of a sudden become fatigued, or a bit dizzy, they're going to instantly think, "Oh, it's
mm,
fatigue. It's a fatigue issue." They don't realize you've just taken a bunch of tramadol or some Nurofen, or and it's a muscle relaxer that not only does it help not feel the pain, but it can
yeah.
send you to sleep. And if you've
I
taken too much of it, or you've taken a dose of it, depending on your body levels and how you've eaten throughout the
mm,
day,
mm.
it can affect, essentially, you could end up falling asleep on the job. And it happens so often than what
It's
people think.
it's not only that. Like, I used to work with a truck driver, right? Just a tipper driver, and he he parked the tipper in gear one day, and I think he'd taken some sort of painkiller and got back into the truck. Obviously not after he took the painkiller. I have no idea what time in the day he took that, but it must have been pretty strong, because he parked the tipper. It was a parallel park. He'd parked it behind a couple of little Vespa scooters.
Yeah.
Um, this is a mistake we've all made as people who drive manual. He's just gotten in, turned the key, and the truck went straight over the top of these scooters, bugger them up
Oh,
completely.
wow.
And the first thing they did was come in. They brought the drug bus down with them and tested him. He ticked over on something that was in that painkiller,
Yeah.
and they did not care. They were just like, "See you later, mate.
See
You're
you
gone."
later. I think you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so important, and it goes into making sure that you adopt the healthy eating aspect of this. You don't have to always be eating junk food, but if you need to eat something that gives you that energy and the vitamins and the protein and all that good stuff throughout the day, so eating healthy on the job is
Mhm.
always
Mhm.
important. Not always packing your lunches full of crap.
Yeah.
Because if you need to be doing a long shift and you pack crap, that's not going to keep you awake. Having Red Bull throughout the day, you've got 5 cans of Red Bull that keeps you going. It is the worst diet. Do not rely on soft drink to
Mm.
keep you
Mm.
awake, because at some point your body's just going to feel all this pain, and it doesn't supplement the nutrition you need from good eating. The only way
It's
to
a
do that is a healthy diet and
mm,
stretching.
it's
Getting up,
a
moving around, and
the high
just
sugar stuff. Sorry, carry
yeah.
on. Mm.
No, yeah, you're right. Keep going.
The high sugar stuff is a very short term gain for a not so long term loss.
Right,
You're gonna have, you think it's gonna be a good idea to have a Red Bull or something like that to keep yourself awake. Well, in that case, you will mostly be running on sugar, and what happens after a sugar high is a sugar crash.
yeah,
And you don't want that happening at 1 o'clock in the morning when your body's
yeah.
going, "It's time to sleep, it's time to sleep, it's time to sleep." Don't go to sleep, you know?
Don't go to sleep. Stay awake. And you will crash. That
Yeah.
sugar high does come
Mhm.
down, and you think, "Oh, I can handle the sugar low. That's fine." Yeah, sit down for a whole of 3 minutes, and you think you're gonna have your 10 minute. Oh, I'll just close
Mm.
my eyes for ten
Mm.
minutes. An hour goes by. Your boss or your team leader comes knocking on
Mhm.
the car window, going,
Yep,
"Hey,
yep.
mate, what are you doing?" You're like, "Oh shit." You've just been pinned for sleeping in your car.
Yep.
Never a good look, and especially if you're not good mates with that team leader, I can tell you now, it will not
Mhm.
be a good look back at the office. They will straight up come back looking for you, and you could be reprimanded or lose your job over it. So don't rely
I
on the sugar high.
I can tell you that from first-hand experience, not from the sugar high, but I will say this: if you're working a night shift and it's a particularly cold and long night, yeah, a little chocolate bar goes a long way to keeping you warm, believe it or not, because that little bit of sugar gives your body some extra energy to burn
Get
to
those Snickers pods
warm
in
you up a
the
bit.
back pocket there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You know,
Nothing,
get
you
some to
know,
munch on. Get some Minties in your pocket as well.
a little bit of trail
Um,
mix doesn't hurt.
yeah,
But
exactly right. Some
don't
nuts,
go.
you know, just keep active, keep warm, keep moving,
Mm-hmm.
you know. You might be in that same small little area, but just moving around and not standing in that one spot can definitely help. The
But
joint pain and all that, making
mm,
sure you're constantly in touch with your physiotherapist or a good chiropractor. Shout out to
yeah,
Lakevex
yeah,
Chiropractors.
absolutely.
Many, many times have I needed a chiropractor or physiotherapist
Mm,
because of the prolonged standing. I personally have joint pains in my back, disc problems, and a curvature in my spine as well.
mm,
Uh, so the good old scoliosis kicks in, and you've just got to battle through it. You know, most people these days need the money, um,
mm,
but you need to just be taking care of your body as well. It's not something to play around with and just try and fight through the pain,
yeah,
because you will eventually get to a point where your body seizes up. This isn't a job where you think, "Oh, yeah, easy, quick money." It is your good days and your bad days, and it is
mm,
by far not easy money. You will work for it, and your body will feel the combat of those long periods of standing.
yeah.
So you need to be taking care of your health. It is vital. Yeah, it is massive.
And it's not only that. Say you are on one of those jobs where it's a little back street. They don't really need traffic control, and your team leader goes, right, it is okay to sit down for a bit. You're okay. I've got this on my own. Um,
Yeah,
you still get to those periods where it's like, bum, that monotony just kicks in.
it just kicks in, and that's
Mm,
it's so important that we've already spoken about is that having
yeah.
that proper footwear is so
Yes.
essential. So
Yep.
investing in that supportive footwear, comfortable shoes with the good arch in it,
Yep.
the cushioned insoles or orthopedic insoles that you can get for additional comfort. And obviously trying to maintain that good posture, standing straight with the weight evenly distributed to avoid locking your knees
Mm,
up,
mm,
regularly shifting your weight and engaging in
yes.
micro movements. So slight little foot movements or calf raises, as they call it. So,
Mm,
you might be driving through a site and you see this traffic controller just leaning up. He ain't trying to look over the back end of your car. He's actually just doing little micro breaks. So little simple stretching, and during the breaks, even trying to relieve the tension, like your neck roller shoulder that
mm,
you can do. You can buy these little handheld neck rubbers that have little orthopedic balls on the end of it. And you can just rub that on a little bit of deep heat just to relax the muscles up a bit, So,
yeah, exactly. And there are things you can do even if you're on the bat. There's nothing stopping you from walking backwards and forwards across your lane, for example. Even if you have cars, you can always do that under the pretext of checking for cars on the way
yeah,
or
that's
something
it.
like that. Just
Leg
get
lunges.
some get some exercise. Please get exercise, otherwise you're going to end up with arthritis by the time you're 35.
Yeah, 100%.
It's
Amen.
it's not a lot of fun.
Preach it, preach. Yeah, doing the old squats, everyone's like, "Oh, I can't do a squat." Well, it is an industry where you've got to learn how to exercise on the spot or
Yeah,
exercise in that area, because yeah, it is so important. We're not
no,
saying it
exactly.
because
I mean,
we want to make fun of you or this is some sort of gimmick. Like, we've been through
mm,
it. We've been doing this for years and years and years. We have started at the ground, and we're now at the spot where we can give you guys this information. A lot of people just come into the industry, do it for a bit of quick cash. They might have done it once or twice before, but not only that, it is an extremely volatile industry. You're dealing with the public, and anything can happen at any time, from drunk drivers uh, to just stupid people running your stop at, and you've got to be on
exactly. And
your
if
game. So being vigilant,
if
being on to
you're
it is right. Having
If
a good health drink as well.
Yep.
Um,
Yes.
I don't know,
Mm.
put some cordial, put some Powerade powder or something in that 5 litre bottle of water that you've got.
Powerade perfectly, yeah.
Yeah, it just
Powerade's a good
keeps your
one.
body active. It just replenishes what your body's losing. And it also helps you stay awake, gives you that little bit of energy that you need in small
Mm.
microbursts as well. So keeping your energy levels up is overall health vital.
Well, speaking of keeping the energy levels up, what do you say we take a short break, Swagman? And
Let's do it.
we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Sounds good.
All right.
And while we were just in that break, I just thought I'd jump on the Traffic Control Australia Facebook page.
Mm.
And
Shout out
I've
to them.
just shout out to them. They are amazing. What a great bunch of people. Now, this was up 9 hours ago, and it comes from Emma Cole. Shout out to Emma Cole.
Mm.
Hey, just wondering, what's the best way to transfer New South Wales traffic control tickets to WA? Do I need to start again? Now, the thing I have with this is, in terms of law, you just need to do a refresher course.
Mm.
And I'm sure it's the same if WA goes to Sydney as well.
Yep.
You just do a refresher WA course, and you can get those from any of the RTOs that are doing them. And once you've done your refresher, you're good to go. Because if you come over with an Eastern States traffic control license, it'll come down to the company and whether they take you on or not. So it's always
Mm.
best to say, hey, I've done a refresher. It is a little bit less expensive doing the refresher. It's not the full course. It's only the ending of the course because you've already got a ticket. So essentially it's half the price. So to answer that question, do a refresher with a registered RTO in WA and you'll be golden to transfer your license.
That's pretty good advice.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same. Yeah, it's the same with going from the Western states, sorry, to New South Wales. Just go and do a refresher course. It's not as in depth as it used to be. Back in the old days, you used to have to start straight from scratch. But I think the last couple of years they changed that.
Yeah. No, it's all been changed now, and it's I'm just having a quick look here. Lost colleagues.
Mm.
I want to just briefly touch on this before we go into the next segment of family life, and this is probably a good segue to get into that family
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
So we have lost traffic controllers, and just going through the numbers, I believe Queensland is
Mm.
the one with the most deaths when it comes to traffic controllers. So we've had
Yeah.
people as young as 23 and even younger, 18 years old. So name unknown, 2009. New South Wales, 18-year-old traffic controller passed away due to a traffic control incident, killed in action. Now,
Mm.
all of these names that I'm reading out, rest their souls, and hats off to all you traffic controllers out there that are doing this job. And the ones here on the list, you served, and you will be remembered. Things like our platform greatly give you guys a shout out.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
going to try my best to read out these names.
mm, I'll interject quickly. The statistic as it stands right now at the time of recording is there has been at least one traffic controller death every year in Queensland.
There you go. And the figures just consistently grow. We obviously slow down, save, and traffic controller. We are not putting reduced speed limits in these zones for the sake of we want you to go slow to piss you off. We've put them up because we're trying to remain safe, because if an incident did happen, it's not going to be as serious you hitting us at 40 Ks to whether we've just left it at 80. So you hit us at 40, we have a chance at maybe surviving. You hit us at 80, we're dead. So
And
there's a big jump.
it's not just about us, it's also about the drivers, because driving slower means you have a longer time to react to weird anomalies on the road, which,
Yeah.
there are going to be weird anomalies on the road if you're driving through a construction site. But that a lot of people don't realize that there is a big difference. I mean, look at the photos. There's a big difference that 20 kilometers an hour brings, right? So if you crash into a TMA at 110 kilometers an hour, your car's going to be, it's going to look like a meatball. But you do it at 90 k's an hour, it's still going to look like a meatball, but you're more likely going to survive. And so is the TMA driver.
TMA driver's not going to feel it as much as what you guys are, but I can tell you now, coming from a TMA operator myself, I've never been hit, but obviously TMA operators talk with other TMA operators.
And I can quite proudly say that.
I can quite tell you now, that Scorpion is going to suck your car up like no tomorrow. Now, we're going to get jolted in the front, but we're harnessed up on a, 4 or 5 point harness. We're not going to feel it as much. We're going to feel it. But if you hit that back end of that Scorpion, your car is going to crush into a little ball.
It's going to crush like a big
It's going to be the same as hitting a tree. You're going to hit it, the airbags are going to deploy, it's going to move the truck, and your car is just going to squish up like a tiny ball. It'll smash in the front end, and that'll be it of your car, and your airbags are going to go off, and you're going to feel it twice as hard. So, you see those crash trucks there, they do get hit, and they do severe damage, and sometimes even the truck is a write-off, because that Scorpion, depending on how big that truck is, can range from anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000+ just for the end Scorpion piece alone. And you hit that at 80 or 100 Ks, and I can tell you now, it's not a good feeling for you guys on the other end. That TA operator is by far, he'll still feel it, probably get some whiplash, probably still have scarring or even a broken rib, because we're harnessed in the front. We can't move, and the minute the truck goes off, alarm bells go off, and it's just it is a big situation. Obviously, we're there to save lives, protect the workers and the client.
I will quite proudly say that even though I've done extensive hours on motorways and main roads and things like that, I've never had a TMA hit on my job. In fact, I've never even had any sort of accident take place on one of my job sites. So I'll, thank you to the great maker up there.
He's kept us alive so far.
Yeah, exactly.
And, the traffic controllers that have lost their lives, rest in peace yourselves. You guys are obviously just doing your job and didn't get to go back to your family. But I'm just going to read out some names here, and I'll do my best to try and pronounce them. And I think there's about 25 to 28 on this list. I was trying to count them earlier, but sort of all squished together. I'll read out the date of death as well, which is, they do range quite a bit. So there is 4 on my list of names unknown, and they range from 2009, an 18-year-old, passed away in New South Wales. The second one was another one in 2023. Now, the age has been restricted, has been taken, but that was here in WA.
Yeah.
That was the 16th of the 11th, 2023. So only last year there was a death here in WA. Another name unknown was the 15th of the 11th, 2010, 23-year-old in Queensland. Another
2010,
name
yeah.
unknown. This is also Queensland.
Mm,
15th of the 11th, 2010. They obviously must have been on the same job because that's also Queensland. 55 years old.
mm,
The other one's 44 years old. George Hevers, or Tavera, September 2022, Northern Territory,
mm.
43 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's another big one. Sarah Sicily is the 9th of the 11th, 2022, 22-year-old here in WA. Nicholas
Okay.
Kennedy, 15th of the 5th,
Mm,
2021, 59-year-old from Victoria.
mm.
Jed Kirkland, November 2004, 18-year-old Northern Territory. So another young life in traffic control lost because
Quite a few
of,
young lives there.
yeah, there's quite a few, and
I mean, a lot of
quite a
them
bit
were,
under 50, which is quite
yeah.
concerning that they've all lost their lives doing traffic control. So when we're talking about serious nature of our job,
Mm,
we're not pissing around, we're not pissing in your boot when we say this is a dangerous job.
yeah,
It is not quick money. This is a job for you to be highly vigilant and be on the ball. It's not something to joke around
and
with.
that's what makes our job so difficult, because we have to spend hours, and I mean, some days it'll be tens of hours focusing intently on nothing happening.
Yeah. And it's that split second that you look away that something does happen, and that's why it's vital to stay vigilant and be on your game as well.
I mean,
Another one here, Murray Goodrich, the 4th of the 8th, 2009, 48-year-old Queensland. Julie Mary Robinson, 23rd of the 8th, 2023, 42-year-old from Queensland. John Charles Wincello, 31st of the 6th, 2021, 53-year-old from New South Wales. Terence Close, 5th of the 2nd, 2013, 62-year-old from Tasmania. Tasmania. Victor Burt, 19th of the 1st, 2021, 57-year-old from WA.
yeah.
Mike Jansen, 5th of the 6th, 2020, 27-year-old from WA. And Victor Burt was also from WA. Unreal. That's get bad. Harry Zagretos, 30th of the 11th, 2011, 49-year-old from Victoria. Perry Broad, 22nd of the 6th, 2022, 64-year-old from Victoria.
Yeah.
Timmy Raki is a 9th of the 11th, 2021, a 44-year-old from Victoria. Ben Smith, the 8th of the 9th, 2015, 50-year-old from Queensland. Ken, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, Altoft, Altoft, 7th of the 11th, 2017, 56-year-old from Queensland. Peter Dyke, or I don't want to try D-Y-C-K. I'm not going to say that word on radio. I do know what I'm going to go. Yeah, we'll bypass that. 29th of the 8th, 2023, 58-year-old from Victoria. Hats off to you, mate. Rest in peace. Brendan Moreland, 26th of the 10th, 2021, 35-year-old from Queensland. Susan Cordell, 16th of the 1st, 2013, 65-year-old from Queensland.
Jeez, that's got to be sad. She was inches from retirement too.
Yeah, so close to retirement. Could have even, I think 65 is retirement. Should have been, yeah.
Just
Would have been
about,
in
I think.
retirement. It was just extra money for her. So
Yeah.
usually old people doing these jobs is just filling the hours, getting that extra cash with Centrelink. They could do a certain amount of hours before it actually affects their Centrelink income or their pension.
I've
So
worked quite a
they
few.
come out
I've
and they
worked
do
with.
traffic control. You know? So it's hats off to these old people out there.
I have worked with a few of those people.
Yeah, and they're awesome. They've got great stories.
Yeah.
And last but not least is Ruth Hesse Symmetry, SZAT Murray. Samari. 27th of the 2nd, 2024. So only this year alone in February, 55-year-old from Victoria has lost their life. It is insane. And there's another 48-year-old male, the 4th of the 8th, 2009. First name is Murray Goodrich. Hubby was on site the night that this happened. So it's not just affecting the people that have passed away, obviously, but the families and their friends, their colleagues that they've worked with. It is ridiculous. It's insane. We can't stress enough for vigilance, and rest in peace these guys that were, and girls that were out there just doing the job to keep everyone safe and the traffic control industry alive. You know, you guys won't be forgotten and constantly be remembered. So yeah, hats off to you guys. Rest in peace.
Absolutely. And when you say
it's good talking about this because it brings us into the next segment for the family life balance.
Hold on, I'll add something to that last bit. I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, yeah.
You said hats off. Well, you ever drive through a construction site and see hats on, a witch's hat on the bonnet of the traffic control truck or any other truck, for example? That's not just something silly. It's not someone playing jokes. That's our equivalent of a flag at half mast. That means somebody's died.
Yeah, 100%. And it's one of those, just our respect to them. And it's, you ever see someone going past and trying to yell out the window, "Oh, your cone's on your car," they don't understand. That is our signal to the rest in peace to those ones out up there that have come out here and done the job and on that site particular. And you'll see a lot of it when you go to certain sites and they go, "Oh yeah, Joe died on this site," and then all of a sudden you see the cone on the vehicle. That is the signal of we're here with you.
No, it's like a lot of TCs actually did it here in Sydney a few months ago after Bondi. Yeah.
I remember that. I think it was even on Channel 9.
Yeah, it was. It was on every channel here.
It was on every channel. Yeah.
Even the flags on top of the harbour bridge were flying at half mast for like a week after that.
It's so good to see that kind of camaraderie when everyone just comes together in that one moment to just validate that this job is high risk and these things do happen. It's not a piss-take job. It is not a job where you think you're going to walk in, make some extra cash. Your life is on the line. You are dealing with the general public. And you're dealing with every type of vehicle from a little moped all the way up to your big ton of trucks and oversized vehicles. So
there's nothing like saying the traffic controller's prayer when you see an 18-wheeler bearing down on you with engine brakes going. You're the little guy standing at the bottom of the hill with your pissy little stop sign, and you're like, "Dear God, is this the one? If this truck's brakes fail, please make it quick."
Yeah, do not make this a long life. And you know, you've got your exit routes, but then all of a sudden your exit route you've ranged towards is the same way that truck's decided, "I'm going to go this way now." And you're like, "Okay, go the other way."
But when do you decide to use your exit route?
That is it. And that's why it's so important to have that exit route when it comes to that situation. You know, we're not sitting there saying have an exit route for the sake of wasting our breath here. We are saying make sure every time you are on that bat, have an exit route. Make sure you are standing in a position that has your exit route. And no, it is not towards the live traffic.
And again, that's something, I mentioned before. I like to radio my TCs when I can't see them and just see how they're doing. That's a random question. I'll pop to them in the middle of the day. I'll just be like, "Copy, Matthew. Where are you going to run to?"
Yep.
And he's like, "What do you mean?" If it's a new guy, they'll always be like, "What do you mean?" And I go, "You're standing up there. I know where you're going to run to. I've already incorporated that in my TGS for the day, but I need you to tell me where you're going to run to." "Oh, I suppose, I've got a driveway next to me." "Good. Yep.
Perfect.
We're on the same wavelength."
Yeah.
But let us digress. Work-life balance. You were going to talk about that before.
Yeah, so having your family work-life balance. Now, a lot of people are, if you're lucky enough to be inundated with work, that's always great. But don't make it at
Mm-hmm.
the expense of your family or the cost of your kids. And it's
Mm.
the same with the FIFO life. It's the same with any job you do, really, not just
Yeah.
traffic control.
Yeah.
Family work-life balance is important. It's important for your marriage or your relationship.
Mm.
It's important for your kids. Your kids only get one period, and you were a kid at one point as well. And
Yeah.
how often did you want your parents at your assemblies or your graduation or, your carnival? Did you want to see your daddy there to watch you running down around the oval? It is
Mm.
those moments in your life you will remember forever. If you are not there, believe it or not, even if you think now, listening
Mm.
to this, when did I ask my parents to be at the carnival? They didn't show up because they were working.
Yeah.
If you can remember any time in your life where you wanted your parents there and they just couldn't be there because of work, they had to work, fair enough.
Mm.
But think of that now. We're in 2024 where work's not always important. We just do it to get by. Having a day off every now and again to be at your kids' carnival, to watch your daughter and
Mm.
your son race down the racetrack or watch them do cross country, any event, swimming event, graduation, assembly. They're getting a merit certificate at their school.
Mm.
Tell work you're not going to be there. Now, if they threaten your job, then they're not the employer for you because they're not
Exactly.
thinking
Yeah.
of your family, they're not thinking of your mental health. And why would you want to bend over backwards to make them $1 if they're going
Mm-hmm.
to pull the piss and just not give you one day off to go watch your son, your daughter receive a merit certificate, watch an assembly, or be at their carnival? What could be more important than your own children?
They're only going to grow up once.
Yeah, and it's the same with your own relationship. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't have any kids, but you're married, and your wife's, your wife could be working, or your wife's home
Mm.
all the time, and she needs your support at home, and you're barely there because you're always working. Just have a day off, and just be there and say, okay, I'm going to have a day off. I'm going to tell my boss I need a day off. I need to be at home with the wife, and I'm going to go do something.
Exactly. Even say in your situation, Swagman, if you're a FIFO, for
Mhm.
example, you've got your 2 weeks on, you've got your 2 weeks off. Use those 2 weeks
To be
off
with the family.
strategically to be with the family.
Yeah.
You know,
Don't go
sure.
looking for other jobs where,
Mm-hmm.
I see it all the time. And you'll see it on a lot of the FIFO pages. Hey, I'm on my 2 weeks off. What do I do? Be
Mm.
with your family.
Yeah.
Don't.
Like.
I want to look for another job. Don't look for another job. Manage your fatigue levels. We're talking about fatigue and all that throughout this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It is vitally important on the same level to be
There.
with your
Yeah.
family, your friends.
If it was a good idea to be working non-stop for the entire month or whatever, okay, say if it was a good idea for you to be working those 2 weeks off, heaven knows the big mining companies would have you working for those 2 weeks off.
100%.
So,
Yeah, and
or
they
even,
they do it because they're also restricted to obviously
mm,
fatigue management laws and all that. They've got to
yeah,
do it. I'm sure some companies, if they could get away with it, they would. And they'd pull your ass in there constantly, 24/7 around the clock. But
they would.
for the sake of your family life balance, just be present. Turn off the phone, put it into flight mode, and just be with your partner, be with your family, be with your kids. Those 2 weeks you might only have 6 days off. Some people are on 8-6.
Mm.
Spend those 6 days wisely. Spend the 6 days with the family.
Geez, have you been talking to my wife? I feel called out right now.
Oh, Jesus, Cranky. Yeah. Oh, see, you gotta think smart. And I've just had my wife turn up over here after dropping the kids off. So, yes, it is vitally important to spend that time when you are home to be
Mm-hmm.
home. Don't go looking for another job,
Mm.
especially if you're on FIFO. Tell you now, most FIFO workers are on really good money, and that kind of money is enough to support both you and your wife, and she could be working as well. So not only have you got your income from FIFO, you've got her income as well.
Yeah, so you've
And
still got that double income.
that double income. And
Mm.
if you're stemming both incomes, you're living beyond your means.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's unless your wife is also working in a period that you are home, there's no reason for you to be trying to find another job. Spend it wisely, catch up with your mates, go for a
Mm.
walk, go to the beach. Something
Absolutely. That's
mental
another
health
thing
is
that I
vital.
have. Yeah. That's another thing that I've found that's that's perfectly. It's a good example. Catch up with your mates. All right. This was something that I didn't get an opportunity to do with my ex, but now that this is 10 years on, I'm actually with a woman who understands me. My best mate and we live maybe 4 blocks apart, and we have made it our absolute mission, no matter what happens, unless something really shithouse comes up, which is like if it's a long emergency call out for me, every week we have our designated day that we catch up. There is no variance. There's nothing else. It's just we're going to the pub. We'll have a few drinks. We're going to chat. It's normally a Wednesday night. Okay.
Shout out to the pub.
Or he'll come over here or something, like I'll go to his place, whatever. But it's Wednesday night, middle of the week, breaks the week up. We catch up. We have a few drinks. We all chat. We listen to music, whatever. It's really good to. In the last episode, you were talking about having that debrief. It's
Being able to switch
it's an
off.
extremely important method of debriefing.
Yeah.
Just get together with your mates, have a bit of a shit talk. Just someone who is outside of the picture.
That's it. And that's it's so important because of the irregular hours of traffic control to have that outlet as well.
And something that a lot of these companies don't understand. Oh, sorry, excuse me, I'll take that back. Something that a lot of new people don't understand is that you can actually set boundaries with companies, and you can go, right, I am not available on this day or that day, not available on Sundays. I go to church, whatever.
Select a day, let your employer know I'm not available. Let them know that this is my only day that I can't have, or these are the 2 days I can't work. And if they try to get you to work to say, make it your goal to say, right, this is the time bracket I am not available. And that could be weekly, that could be fortnightly, it could be every 3 weeks, every month, whatever the case is, just make the time.
Do not let them pressure you.
Yeah, do not fall for the, we need you script, it's so boring, we've had so many call-ins sick. It's, again, family work-life balance, and that's more important.
I can hear you've got the cat going off in the background there. I've got the dog going off in the background over there. She's howling I don't know if you can see her on the video, but she's howling at the door. Stupid thing.
I cannot even hear it.
She is there. Those brown spots there are my dog.
That's the dog. Just.
Yeah. She's like, let me in. Please let me in.
Stay away.
Don't go to sleep. She knows what time we feed her, so she's like, come on, please, I'm starving.
Now, yeah, it's food time. I'm saying that I've got to go get dinner ready.
Yeah. Well, how much of... I believe we have come to the end of our time.
We have indeed.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. This is probably one of the best podcasts that we've done.
I think so. We've had some pretty good laughs.
This is probably a good one.
Yeah.
You've been here with Swagman and Cranky. So hats off to you guys. And peace out.
And not just yet. We still have to say thank you to our sponsors,
Ah,
which
yes. Cannot forget our sponsors. See, that's fatigue setting in. This is why you need to eat properly.
which you've got a few. You got
Yeah, so
the
we've got
Lakeside
Swag
Butchery,
headquarters, Swag
Swag
HQ.
headquarters. Yeah.
We've got Stilo's Butchery down at Lakeland Shopping Centre there. And
Sorry,
we've got,
Lakelands. Yeah.
Yeah, down Lakelands, and we've got the Kairos, Melissa Morgan,
Mm-hmm.
Electron Lakelands as well. Hats off to you guys. I believe this week we have a brand new sponsor, which is awesome.
Yes, if you're over here in Sydney, go ahead on Instagram and look up Dizzylicious.
Dizzylicious sounds like
Dizzylicious sounds like cupcakes, sounds like cakes for any occasion.
Oh,
and they sound delicious too, don't they? Look her up on Instagram.
It's wedding for any females.
I think so. Wedding cakes, yeah.
For your husbands to hear. Wedding.
I know she. Ding dong, ding dong, ding.
Oh no, we'll set something up for you now.
They're not my wedding bells. Those are, they've been rung already.
Yeah, so mine. That's it. So,
and
yeah,
lastly, we would like to thank Upbeat.io for providing this mad rock and country track that I managed to find on there.
Oh, yes, Upbeat. Thank you for all this awesome track. And just one more as well. Carlo here from Software Cassie.
Mm-hmm.
Big shout out to you, mate. Hope to see you strive and reaching your goals on your journey. Anyone needing help with their business, in terms of software and like that, management, Software Passive is the one to look at. It integrates all your social media accounts into one place, your payroll, everything you need to do for your business is in this one software. And the best part is, for the first 14 days, it is absolutely free. So if you hit up Quintu Fatoa or Carlo Hand, you can catch them up on Facebook or reach out to us and we'll provide you some links. And yeah, hats off to you guys. Still smashing goals, so I'm gonna go swag it out.
Is that O'Hare spelt the Irish way? O''hair?
That is correct. H-A-R-E. That is the one.
That's very interesting. Anyway, we'll call it a wrap. You guys have been listening to In the Zone with Cranky and the Swag Man, and we appreciate that very, very much.
Awesome.